Ladies and gentlemen, here's your EIDL grant update for September 10th, 2020. In this video, I'm going to show you a couple of leaked SBA internal emails that reveal secret criteria that SBA loan officers use to decide whether the agency will approve your application for the economic injury disaster loan or the advance once the Small Business Administration opens up the program as per the HEROES bill, the $10 billion that the Democrats appropriated through that measure, or S.4227, which will mandate that the Small Business Administration disperses the full $10,000 economic injury disaster loan advance to all legitimate small business applicants, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get right to it. On Friday, August 14th, the Small Business Administration sent the following email to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Processing Team. Team, just passing along some information on some of the fraud alerts that you may be seeing, the new messages you've seen with things like device risk, global 50%, have been grouped into the following 4 categories. So these are alerts that the processing team sees their system load up when they're processing an application. The email breaks down the alerts into the following 4 categories. Suspicious online behavior. There is either history of misuse of the device or active hiding of device information. If for some reason you are hiding your device information, the Small Business Administration will classify your application as fraudulent and thus deny your application for the economic injury disaster loan or the advance. Client devices associated with fraud. Fraud has been reported in relation to the client's device. High-risk IP address. Client is using a device to hide their IP address or coming from a high-risk area. An IP address is the numeric string that is tied to your computer or your device that basically identifies where the computer is located. And if for some reason somebody has been using that IP address or a device that is tied to that IP address to file a fraudulent application, then the Small Business Administration will classify your application as fraudulent and thus deny your application for the EIDL loan or the advance. Client location is international. Client accessing software from a non-US location. We generally see higher fraud rates from international traffic. So if you are applying for the economic injury disaster loan from anywhere else but the 50 states or any of the U.S. territories, then you are coming from a, quote, high-risk area. You are filing an application from a high-risk area, and thus the Small Business Administration will classify your application as fraudulent and decline your loan. The only other fraud messages you may see are the following below. Device, computer, mobile IP address associated with fraud. This one means that the computer or mobile device has been reported to be used in fraudulent activity by other institutions. Large number of applications with other lenders, large scale, owner information used in a high volume of applications with multiple institutions in a short period of time, often indicates stolen PII. This basically means that for some reason, as per the Office of Inspector General, the report called for financial institutions to share more information with the Small Business Administration in order to prevent dispersing funds to people who filed fraudulent applications. So for some reason, financial institutions are reporting that an IP address is being used by applicants to submit applications that are fraudulent for the economic injury disaster loan or any other form of financing. Then financial institutions, banks, share this information with the Small Business Administration. They see it, and then if for some reason your device is associated with that IP address, then your application will be filed as fraudulent. And you know what happens after that. Large number of applications for this program, several in succession. Owner information used in a high volume of applications with SBA in a short period of time. Often indicates applicant trying to get multiple funding or try different false information to get through. Can also just be an owner with many businesses. So if for some reason you as an applicant are filing multiple applications for the economic injury disaster loan because you have multiple businesses, you may have to do something else in order to prove that you are filing a legitimate application, because the Small Business Administration will classify your application as fraudulent. Owner information failed validation. Info doesn't go together. Person is listed as deceased. Owner information could not be validated by data provider. There were discrepancies or red flags. The Treasury was working on obtaining death records of people to ensure that applicants were not using dead people's information to file fraudulent applications of the economic injury disaster loan. Digital identity fraud, suspicious online behavior. The data altogether has been used fraudulently online. Owners associated with fraud online, or we detected attempts to bypass our fraud checks and security measures. If for some reason the SBA system detected that you try to bypass their fraud detecting measures, then they'll deny your application. VoIP phone number, or phone number not associated with business or owner. VoIP, voice over IP, is often used by nefarious organizations to mask their true phone number and locations. It is also used by legitimate businesses. We generally see increased fraud when VoIP is used. I represent a number of clients that use voice over IP telephone systems. So if you use this kind of system, then the Small Business Administration may classify your application as fraudulent. And if for some reason the phone number that you use to apply for the economic injury disaster loan does not match what the Small Business Administration finds online, finds it in a Yelp listing or a Google business listing, and they may also classify your application as fraudulent. Email has not passed validation. Incorrect or fake email may suggest business is not legitimate. Bank account number, routing incorrect. Not so much fraud, but incorrect bank info. ACH would likely fail if we attempted to fund this applicant. Bank account ownership not matching business. Unable to verify that the bank account is actually linked to the business. These are, again, I've said it several times, these constitute the most widely spread complaint that I get from people. People reported to me numerous times that they've made mistakes entering their bank account numbers, their routing numbers. Thus, their financial institution rejects the Small Business Administration's deposit economic injury disaster loan and the advance. If it was the advance, unfortunately, the advance funds that the bank rejected, the Small Business Administration dispersed it to the next person who was owed a grant. So as of right now, the Small Business Administration has declared that it will not disperse any more grants associated with the economic injury disaster loan. Therefore, you'll have to wait until either the measure that appropriates $10 billion to the HEROES bill, or at least that measure is packaged into the next stimulus deal, or S.4227, that will mandate that the Small Business Administration disperses the full $10,000 economic injury disaster loan advance to all legitimate applicants in order to wait to ensure that you receive those funds through the grant program. Now, on August 16th, the Small Business Administration sent the following email to its loan processing team, which may also be the contractors, RER Solutions and Quicken Loans. Here are some pointers to take into account while processing. If a file has a public record search, did not find business info alert, perform a Google search, SOS Bizopedia, to determine whether you can locate the business. If you cannot locate it, proceed with a decline. We currently have too much fraud as it is, and we are trying not to give applicants additional time to provide fraudulent documentation. For sole proprietorships and independent contractors, you can give them a few hours to provide a 1099 that must be reviewed to verify legitimacy. Sole props and independent contractors are given a little time since they likely will not have presence online. If you don't have it at the end of your shift on that same day, proceed with the decline. All of the business entities, LLCs, partnerships, corps, etc. should be automatically declined if you cannot find the business online. So the Small Business Administration will perform a query for your business. They'll either look up your website or look up your listing on Yelp, on the Yellow Pages, your Facebook page, Google Business, and if they cannot find you anywhere online, then they'll automatically decline your application. If you are a sole proprietor or an independent contractor, they'll give you the benefit of the doubt and give you until the very end of the day when they perform the query in order for you to produce a 1099 or other documentation that a loan officer may request so you can prove that you are actually running a business. Nonetheless, again, if you're running an LLC, partnership, or a corporation, a business other than a sole proprietorship, or you are other than an independent contractor, then You have to have a presence online. The Small Business Administration has to be able to locate your business online in some shape or form. Applicants who were declined because the public records search did not find a business will be required to provide us with the 2019 or most recently filed income tax return, along with a signed IRS Form 4506T as part of any reconsideration request. The 4506T will be used to request tax transcripts with accurate information directly from IRS. We are not requesting 4506T forms at processing. A number of you have asked me whether the Small Business Administration will request IRS Form 4506T. As I said on today's earlier video, I have produced 3 4506Ts in order to authorize the Small Business Administration to yank my tax transcript so they can compare the information that they find on that tax transcript with the tax return that I produce to file for reconsideration for an economic injury disaster loan. Files with fraud alerts for suspicious online activity, device associated with fraud, high-risk IP address, and client is international, but business is not Puerto Rico, Guam, America, Samoa, etc. Any U.S. territory should be declined. We covered that pretty in depth in the last email. Files with related deals by banks that are not the same business or person should be declined. Files with bank accounts that are not in the applicant's name should be declined. Files with email addresses or phone numbers in somebody else's name that is clearly not related should be declined. Files with email addresses with dots that may be moved around or foreign domains should be declined. So, if for some reason you used an email that has somebody else's name on it, they may decline your application. If for some reason you structured your email address with a dot after the first letter or the dot after the first 2 or first 3 letters and then another dot after the subsequent 1 to 3 letters, then the agency may classify your application as fraudulent and thus deny your application for the economic injury disaster loan or the advance. For number 1, be sure to do your due diligence to find the business. If you can't, it is a decline. You must enter a note in the file before your decision, the file for a decline. An example of that note: per my guidance, I am to decline if I cannot locate the business. If you decide to take a 1099 from a sole prop or independent contractor, please make sure it is legitimate. Review the dates, signatures, names, and figures listed on that document. We are not really relying on Schedule Cs that much, since we found out there are websites for applicants to create fraudulent tax returns. Be sure to not waste your time on 3 to 7 above. Go ahead and decline. So if for some reason your activity or your application is associated with any of the pointers number 3 or to 7, then they're just gonna go ahead and decline your application. You have to file for reconsideration. Let me know what you think. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Watch this video right here for more EIDL grant, stimulus, and economic injury disaster loan coverage. Click the like button if you like the video. Click the subscribe button to stay on top of my findings. We mobilize like no one else will and stop at nothing until each and every one of you is equipped with the monetary ammunition you need to save and feed your families, save your business, keep your employees on payroll, and ultimately save this country, because no government leader is going to do it. You are going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. May God bless you. May God bless the United States of America and everybody else on this planet. Talk soon.